Hello, welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest today is Mark Erickson. Mark is a family law attorney whose firm is located in Campbell, California. Campbell is close to San Jose, and San Jose is sort of adjacent to San Francisco. We call it the Silicon Valley area, and we like to say that San Francisco is adjacent to San Jose here. Anyway, Mark graduated with a JD degree, that's a law degree, at Santa Clara University School of Law in 1979. He was admitted to the California State Bar and U.S. District Court, Northern District of California in 1979, and after working for another attorney, mostly in the area of civil and business litigation from 1979 through 1984, he founded his own law firm in 1985. He became a certified family law specialist by the Board of Legal Specialization of the State Bar of California in 1987. He has lectured and presented seminars for many groups, including as a teaching assistant and guest lecturer at Santa Clara University School of Law. And in his alter ego, Mark enjoys playing ice hockey. He's really sort of a tough guy. And he has two sons who are 22 and 25, and his older son is taking his law exams today with the State Bar in California, and so we wish him good luck. Today is July 26th, 2011, if you're wondering when we recorded this session. So today we're going to be talking about the basics of child custody issues related to divorce in California. This is a third of like a trilogy that we're doing on divorce issues. You can find our other interviews at my website, which is financialinsiderweekly.com, under past episodes. And so we invite you to look there to get some of this basic information. Before we get started, I just want to caution our viewers, this is a complex area of law for which you should consult your own attorney. Mark got that law degree, got his specialization, spent a lot of time and effort to get the knowledge that he has in this area. It doesn't happen in 28 minutes. Another thing that we want to caution you about is that divorce laws vary among the states. We do have this available online, so we have people outside of California that watch some of these interviews. You can find some good, valuable psychological information here possibly, but there will be some differences for your own state. So again, you need to talk about your own situation in your own locality with your own attorney. Okay, so with that, let's get started with our questions. And thanks again for joining me today, Mark.
Thank you, nice to be here.
Okay, good. All right, how are child custody matters settled in divorce proceedings?
Well, like anything else, I guess there are two options. One is resolution as a result of a settlement or agreement between the parties. The other is through contested proceedings, a hearing or a trial in front of a judge who makes a decision based on best interests of the children. So parents initially have the power to make their own decision and turn it into a court order without judicial involvement other than approval of your agreement. Mm-hmm. The alternative is to let somebody else decide for you.
Kicking and punching. Okay, well anyway, I guess we'll just move ahead. Maybe if we have time later, we can talk a little bit about emotional things. But anyway, what are some different types of custody orders?
Well, when we talk about child custody, there are two parts to it. One is legal custody, the other is physical custody. Most parents have what we call joint legal custody, which means they each have the same rights to make decisions concerning a child's health, education, and welfare. Mm-hmm. For example, who's the pediatrician going to be? Is the child going to have braces on their teeth? Are they going to go to public or private school? Are they going to engage in certain sports that one parent may think is dangerous, the other may think it's great for the child to be an off-road motorcycle racer at age 8. The other parent may not think so. Those are legal custody type disputes or issues. And again, most parents have joint legal custody, which means they each have the right to make decisions. if they don't agree, ultimately the court can resolve disagreements. The court has authority to give one parent or the other certain powers over legal custody issues, and sometimes they do, although again, usually joint. Or in the case of a parent who's found to really not be competent to make good decisions or unable for some reason to make good decisions, the other parent may have sole legal custody, or maybe because of a parent's unavailability because they're in prison or for some other reason. Then we talk about physical custody, and that gets down to the real time sharing. Where is the child actually spending their time? Who are they living with? We have joint physical custody, which assumes that a child is spending a substantial amount of time with each parent, or it can be an order that gives one parent physical custody and the other parent visitation rights. Sometimes those labels aren't really that good in terms of distinguishing what's really going on in terms of the timeshare, but certainly parents sharing equally or 50-50, maybe a 1 week with one parent, 1 week with the other parent. That would clearly be joint physical custody, whereas a parent that's visiting every other weekend and half the time for holidays probably would be designated as a parent who has visitation rights as opposed to physical custody.
Okay. All right, well, here's the loaded question. Is child custody a difficult issue for a divorce?
Well, it sure can be. It isn't always, but it is one of the most difficult issues. When parents disagree, as you can imagine, it can be very emotional. Parents want to be with their children, or certainly most parents. And when the dissolution comes, often each parent thinks they're better than the other for one reason or another. The disputes can be very difficult to resolve, particularly if somebody moves more than a few blocks away from home, and all sorts of disputes can arise. Where do the kids go to school? Who's going to be a child care provider? So the issues can be very, very emotionally charged. And unlike financial issues, the answers always aren't clear. The standard for child custody dispute is best interests of the children, whatever that means, as opposed to a financial issue where it may be as simple as taking a finite dollar amount and cutting it in two and saying, you get $50 and you get $50. So
the Solomon decision doesn't work very well here.
You can't cut the baby in two. That's right. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Can parents go back to court about child custody from time to time?
Yes, and some, it seems like a never-ending process. Child custody orders, like child and spousal support orders, are modifiable over time. Temporary orders, meaning orders put into place at the beginning of a dissolution or legal separation till the time of judgment, are certainly modifiable without even necessarily showing a material change in circumstances, just the best interests of the child. And after a final order is made, it is modifiable based on a substantial change in circumstances that affects the best interests of a child. So some people, it's a never-ending process of alleging changed circumstances over 18 years. I've seen people fight from before the child's born right up until the very day they turn age 18. And I literally have been in court the day the child turned age 18, which was the end of the dispute. It's mind-boggling that people can have those disputes, but they are out there, and some folks, for whatever reason, one or both parents, they just can't get along, and they continue to disagree about everything.
This is maddening, I would think, for everybody involved. I mean, grandparents, the child, each of the parents, and it's like, and there's no resolution because you could always just be back in front of a judge.
Right, and they say one of the worst things for children is continuing conflict between the parents. So the parents that are claiming they're trying to do what's in their best interests of their child are perhaps harming their child by continuing to have conflict with the other parent. But often, they're each pointing, it's not my fault, it's the other parent.
Guy.
And sometimes it's difficult to figure out who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. One of the difficult issues I seem to be seeing more and more of is alienation of one parent, where the allegation is by the alienated parent that the parent with custody is responsible for turning children against, say, their father, and the other parent saying, no, the children don't want to be with you because you're a bad parent. They don't like you because you abuse them, or don't have good rules, don't provide good guidance. And sometimes those cases are incredibly complex and difficult for anyone to figure out what's really going on.
Well, part of it, of course, is that you've already got this issue of them that they're of conflict because of the divorce itself, and there may be a resentment. There may be adultery involved. There could be all sorts of things, and then this all is going to unfortunately rub off on the children, because what they call it, the conversation you hear at the top of the stairs. I mean, sometimes they're the most influential things in our lives, is the things that we hear up there, of these conversations that are going on, maybe that we really weren't intended to hear. And so it is really a tough spot for a parent to be in a divorce situation. And even these days, it's not even necessarily a divorce. You just have this child because of a relationship, and you still have to deal with the same sorts of issues.
So that's right, yeah. Child custody disputes often arise between parties that have never been married, and sometimes even paternity may be disputed initially. There may be a disagreement about whether one of the parents is really the parent.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, and often early in proceedings, there are a lot of other emotional issues that parents are dealing with, just the loss of their partner and all that goes with that, the depression and anxiety that most people experience, if not all, during a breakup of a relationship. And they often aren't best equipped to deal with their children at that time, but they need to.
Yeah, someone's got to take care of these poor kids. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the standard that applies in making these custody order judgments.